Hey everybody, Viktor here. So in the comments section of my last video, somebody requested a nation guide for Kandy, and I thought that sounded absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and get started with a nation guide to allow you guys to build your very own Kandyland in EU4. The reason why I picked this one, by the way, is because there's actually 2 achievements that you can get while playing as Kandy. You kind of have to play as Kandy. And both of them will generally involve you building plenty of cotton plantations in your Kandyland, and I just could not resist. So, first things first, yes, it is Iron Man mode. If I'm making a guide where you guys are going to be able to get achievements, I'm going to be doing it in Iron Man mode. Second, this is not a no restart guide. There are a few things that can make this a difficult guide to follow. However, it is based around the easiest way to get the achievements. There is an alternative, and I will go into it, that is basically a strategy that you do in addition to this guide. However, you can separate it entirely to get to the same eventual objective. I will get to exactly what all of this is when I get to it. I simply wanted to give you full disclosure on 2 things. 1, you may need to restart. 2, given the frequency of the 4 or 5 things that can be a problem here, well, each one is not overly common, but taken together, they can make me have to constantly restart to get this guide fully done. So you may see some slight changes in the map, or in my generals, or whatever. It's because I had to restart. I will let you know when it happens, but I wanted to give you full disclosure because I believe in full disclosure. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, estates and their privileges. You've seen it before. I got loyalty generators and monarch point generators. You can do whatever you want differently if you want to, but I put here 60%. The reason why is because I was doing just these 2 at first, which would give me 50, and for some reason it kept dropping to 49.9 within about a couple of months. So I'm just doing 60 because then it stays at 60. I don't know what's going on, but for some reason it was a problem. Now there is in here expansion zealotry. You can take that, but be sure you take it after your independence war. You see, you are a vassal underneath Kot here, and they're also Theravada Buddhist. Once you're done with them, yeah, go ahead, take it. You're not going to need to do anything else but fight people that are not Theravada Buddhist for about 250 years of this 400-year game, meaning you'll be good. So just wait until after you're done dealing with Kot, then you can go ahead and take it. Now, after the estates and their privileges, let's go ahead and talk about your ruler. Now, you start off with a ruler, same monarch generators, or same monarch points, and the age is going to be within about 3 or 4 years difference. So not much change there, but the personality trait is going to constantly change. Every time you load up, you're going to probably get a new trait. It's completely randomized. Here's the reason why that matters. Because you have an overlord, that means they can decide, oh, I'm going to put a relative on the throne. In fact, they do this very, very, very often. As in, about 99% of the time. I've done this about 120 times to fully test everything I'm going to tell you, and in that time, they have chosen not to replace my ruler 5 times. For no reason. It wasn't because they had a specific trait, it wasn't because I had a specific army or anything like that. It's just completely random. They decided they're not going to do it. So you may lose your ruler. You may not. Why does this matter? Because the personality trait is random. If you notice, you have enough military points to hire a general. And your ruler can start with a personality trait that gives you free pips on your general, specifically shock and maneuver. If you start the game and your ruler has one of those traits, hire a general before you unpause. If they do not, hold on to your points and hope that they replace him, because you might get a better ruler with better stats. On top of that, you might get that personality trait to give you a better general. So just check out what it is and see it and just make the decision based on what you see. Lastly, don't pick a focus. I see people do this all the time, especially in MPs. If you're going to lose this ruler immediately, don't pick a focus, because if he gets replaced with a 006 and you set down your military focus, you're shooting yourself actively in the foot. You're actively harming yourself. So just wait a minute and see what it's going to come and be. It's going to take about a month in game time. So those two things are now done. Nothing else to really talk about there. So let's go to the military. Take your navy, merge them up, mothball them. Don't delete them. You may need them later. Just mothball them. You won't be paying for them. As far as your army is concerned, you need to hire the free company in Kandy. You need to take your army here and hire 2 infantry. The reason why is you'll see other people say, oh, they'll reduce their army size. Khat will reduce their army size. That was based on Leviathan. In Leviathan, they would reduce their army to 3,000 every time. Now, out of the 120 times, I've seen them do it twice. 2 times. And then they reduce it to 5, maybe about 20 times. But for the most part, they will keep 7,000, which means you need to have 9,000 ready to go. And I just had you recruit 9,000. So do both of those. Make sure you have enough troops. Even if it's overkill, it's better to plan for overkill than be coming up short and have to wait longer. Now that the military is done, let's talk about your diplomacy. Now this is actually kind of convoluted, so follow these steps exactly. First, go to Batmanis, start improving relations. Now you're done. You're a vassal and nobody wants to support your independence. Anywhere. Or at least nobody that was going to help you that you want to have helping you. So don't bother. It's just not worth it. And what I mean by they're not going to be worth it, occasionally, VJ here is going to be willing to support your independence. Now, there is a time when that can be useful, and I will get into it in a second. Now, is the perfect time, however, to talk about the first way that you can end up needing to go with the alternate route or restarting. And that is simply see if Batmanis is rivaled to VJ. If they are not rivaled against VJ, they will not have the plus 20 reasons to ally you because you are threatened by them. Meaning it makes it far more unlikely that you will get them as an ally, and you need them as an ally for this. So just check it before you do anything else, and you will know what kind of game this is going to be. The next couple of reasons I actually have to unpause for a little bit and see how everything shakes out. So give me 1 second. Let me see how everything shakes out. Looks like they replaced my ruler. And it looks like I at least have a decent amount of admin points that are coming, but everything else kind of sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and hire my general now. And I can think of no better person to protect Kandyland than good old Steven. Because Steven would scare me off of Kandyland. Oh, nope, Steven's not going to be protecting anything. Okay. There we go. Much better. Okay. So now I'm going to simply have to sit and wait. Now, who but Mani's allies is the issue? They can ally your overlord. While that does not make you have to stop, that does cause the same kind of problem. The other one that can happen is VJ here allies a bigger power up north. For example, Bengal. Out of the 120 times I've done this, they've done that one whole time. So it's not common, but I needed to mention it. Now, what happens here? Well, you are needing to rely on Batmanis. You need them to take on VJ. Without Batmanis, you cannot win a fight against VJ, not anytime soon. Well, if they ally your overlord, you are going to have to fight them too. Now, that doesn't stop you, because if you look, Batmanis does not have a port, which means they have no navy, which means they cannot actually naval invade you. They can't reach you. On top of that, the land route here is VJ, which means they're never going to get access. So what you need to do is you effectively need to attack Khat, wipe out their army, wait a couple of years, and eventually Batmanis will be willing to peace out, allowing you to full annex these guys. The problem is that will make them lose trust in you, which means they'll get a debuff in reasons on why they should ally you, just as if they did not rival VJ. Meaning you're in the same predicament as before. Now, if VJ ends up allying somebody up here, it's a little bit different of a story, but I'll get to that in a second. So what is the alternative plan? What you're going to be doing is you're going to take out Khat. I'm going to just explain it to you now so you have that available to you. And even when you're going through the normal guide of this that I'm going to show you, you have this as an option to keep expanding. Once you're done expanding into Khat, you will eventually start deving up Khat the province, because it's a grassland province, and all the others here that you're going to have, they're jungle, meaning you have to develop here. This will give you a solid enough economy to be able to have about 10 to 12,000 troops that you then take with your navy, or a couple of cogs, and you just drop them off over here on this uncolonized land. Yes, there are natives there. Yes, they may spawn and fight. If you land with 4,000, you should be fine. And then you simply no-CB somebody on Sumatra over here. And you use their claims to expand and take over Sumatra. Once you are there, you then keep expanding in Indonesia, building yourself up a base of operations to make you be able to take on VJ on your own. If you are able to continue with this guide, it is simply a way to give you even more power to let you take on anybody you want to on your own, but you're generally not going to need that after the first war. So, the other option, just to clarify now, if VJ gets a bigger ally, eventually Jaunpur is going to attack Bengal, or Bengal is going to attack Jaunpur. If that happens, or whoever their ally is gets into another different, larger scale war, then you call in Batmanis and you take on VJ while they're distracted and they're fighting their separate wars. It takes a lot longer, and in the meantime, you expand in Sumatra. So, when in doubt, attack Indonesia. Just attack Indonesia, take the land. Okay, now that all of that has been said, I can now unpause and continue forward. Now, give me 1 second. It looks like Batmanis ended up allying Mysore. Now, I will point this out, just because I need to explain how this works. They will ally first somebody up here, and then if that's not available to them, they'll ally somebody over here. If that's not available, somebody down here. And then finally, if none of those options are working for them, they will then ally your overlord. Meaning, your overlord is the bottom of the barrel, the last possible option for them. They don't want to do it, but they'll do it. It's the last call person. So, it happens fairly regularly because Batmanis here, they tend to be hated by everybody. They tend not to get allies. They tend to have everybody not like them or want their land. So they tend to default to your overlord fairly regularly. Just wanted to point that out. Lastly, before I start this, Kot down here can get another ally. It's not the end of the world, but it does change how this works. How they'll fight against them will work. So let me go ahead and declare this. And I did not put my ruler in charge. Just take them on and try and stack wipe them. If you can stack wipe them, fantastic. If you can't, then you need to chase them down and try and stack wipe them. If you're fortunate, you'll do it the second time you hit them. It looks like I was not able to. So because everything is a jungle, if you keep chasing them, if you didn't notice, I'm taking more casualties in the jungle than they are. However, they will eventually decide to move on to Kandy, which is a fort, which will make me the defender, which will allow me to wipe them out. So take your time, use your forces, and eventually pincer them and just wipe them out. If you can stack wipe them, great. Once you've taken care of their army, though, that is the point you need to get rid of the free company. They're sucking all the money out of your kingdom, and they're not worth maintaining. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording because I need to fight this, and there's no point in simply watching me play the game. So I'll see you guys in just a second. And welcome back. As you can see, war's finally over. Took me a lot longer with a lot more manpower than it normally does, but it's finally over. So grant independence, steal all their land, steal all their money, and then immediately turn off the maintenance of your army. You're not going to need it for a little bit. You're then going to recruit until you have hit the floor of 3,150 troops in manpower remaining. So this is the furthest I can go. If I go any further, I'll be past the floor. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. The reason why this is important is I have very low legitimacy, I have no stability to speak of, which makes me absolutely at risk for a peasants' war. If you go below 25% manpower, which is that number, that 3,130, you're going to trigger this. So you need to make certain you don't go below that amount. Now, in the meantime, you can absolutely core things up, boost up your stability, etc. But keep an eye out because you need to start recruiting troops, but you cannot go below that amount. You're also going to have rebels firing, and after you take the damage from fighting them, you cannot go below that amount. So keep in mind that number, 3,150. Just make sure you don't drop below that. So go ahead, start coring everything. As far as the rival goes, it's just one guy. It is Vinod here. Make sure they're not allied to Botmanis. I've done that at least 3 times in my trial runs through this, where that'll brick it. So just be aware of that. And then obviously keep hiring troops. Now the amount you're going to go for is about 10,000 to 12,000 troops. The reason why is that's about what you need to have to make Botmanis think you're strong enough to be willing to ally you. You'll generally have to get to the maximum amount of opinion, have everything cored up so your diplomatic reputation isn't tarnished, and then lastly, have enough troops and scornfully insult one of their rivals. And I would recommend not doing VJ because they might just attack you. And with all of that said, it is now time to pause. Again, I will see you guys in just a second when I have more to talk about. And welcome back. So, the rebels are right about to fire. So I wanted to point out a couple of things that are related to the rebels. Now, as I said before, you're going to be developing COD. If you develop now, you will increase the amount of rebels that you have to fight. So before you do anything, before you start developing, make sure you deal with the rebels. That's 1. 2, they're going to fire pretty much no matter what you do. Whether you deal with it now or deal with it later, you're going to have to fight these rebels. So reduce the autonomy here to get yourself more of the money coming out of whatever of this place that you're developing, because otherwise you're fighting rebels for no reason. You're going to end up losing money, losing manpower, for all of these things that you can see in front of you for no reason. So absolutely reduce the autonomy. It's not going to have any impact on the amount of rebels you fire, just the speed in which they will. So right before they do, at 90%, drop all of their autonomy. So at this point, I am now allied to Botmanis, or it should be able to. There we go. I'm now allied to Botmanis, and VJ is having their normal problems. You see, while VJ is able to annex their vassal down here very quickly, they also have a nasty habit. You see, they'll get these Mandarin separatists, these guys right here, because they have cores over a large part of the southern portion of VJ, meaning they're an amazing vassal to grab. However, that means they're going to be spending a lot of their troops trying to deal with these rebels. Also, when this guy takes over, he tends to have a lot of rebel problems, including a separatist revolt, which didn't happen this time. But he also has particularists that will fire. So there's a lot of just cascading problems. And then on top of all of that, he has very low military points. Whereas Botmanis here absolutely does not have a problem with any kind of monarch point. Meaning they'll have early military tech, allowing them to punch VJ very, very, very easily. So just need to hurry up and make certain that you can get yourself off the ground. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again so I can fight these rebels, get my claims down on VJ, get my claims on Madurai over here, and I will see you guys once I'm ready to go. See you soon. And welcome back. So, at this point, they're not having any more rebel problems, which is, of course, unfortunate. They also haven't done anything stupid. So the last part I need to talk about as to why this can end up not working for you is you're dependent on the AI. The AI can be stupid. Both Botmanis and VJ. Now, if VJ is stupid, they'll attack somebody like Gujarat or Orissa and waste all of their manpower and soldiers fighting them, leaving them completely wide open to be attacked by you. In the other alternative, however, they don't do that, like they did now. And Botmanis can end up doing something stupid instead. If you have the ability to, if my sword is down here and actually might be relevant, try and get them on your side too, which is what I'm going to end up doing, because they're close enough, they might actually be useful, and honestly, they're just an easy target for VJ to go after too. But what you're going to eventually do is you're going to, when you're ready, declare on them for Vanni. Now, you're not going to make it across the channel. They will blockade you in. So you are reliant on whoever is over on the subcontinent to win this fight for you. Meaning, yeah, it is what it is, but if you have it, the war goal as Vanni, and you're sitting here, and you're able to hold it, you're going to get ticking war score. And they will spend all of their time focused on fighting Batmanis. And if this is what happens, they will be a tech behind, allowing Batmanis, even though they might have less manpower, to punch above their weight class and end up winning. All they need to do is siege down Vijayanagar, the province. As long as they can accomplish that, you should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, pause the recording, get Mysore on my side, and declare the war. And then show you the end result out in the after effects. So I will see you guys in just a second. And welcome back. So, called in Mysore, who I was very smart to actually call in. The reason why is, well, unfortunately, I didn't follow my own advice, and I declared from Madurai across the channel that I couldn't cross. And because, well, the AI is smart enough now to actually somewhat follow instructions by setting the objective down here, he came from up here, down here, and took the other side of the channel for me, allowing me to cross, allowing me to come and actually save the war. Now, because I was able to call in Batmanis with favors, I don't actually have to give them anything, which is helpful. But on top of that, since I'm able to actually piece out other people here because they're in low, I'm going to go ahead and do that and just knock them out of the war, driving up the war score. Just because if I can take more out of them, better. That's definitely better. Give me 1 second while I finish this up, and then I can explain more. Now, before you piece out and do anything else, you're going to declare on Madurai if you are capable of it. Now, having Mysore not able to be called in, it's a pity, but I think I'll live. The reason why is you need to try and take out Madurai before you finish up. The reason why is if you don't, you may not be able to take them out after. VJ has a very nasty habit of, after this is done, after this war is done, warning you to not attack anybody else, anybody that they border, and they border Madurai. Meaning that you attack them now, so that even if they do warn you, you've already taken it. The reason why you're taking it, just so it's clear, they have all the cores, including land you're about to take, and there's no reason to seize the land and core it if you're going to release it as a vassal to reclaim the cores. So go ahead and just do it now. Now I have Pretender Rebels because of course I do. Why not throw that into the mix too? But I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, show you the end result, and I will see you guys in just a second. And welcome back. So now it's just VJ in the war. I was able to annex this guy without any real difficulty. And I'm taking all the land I can until I reach the point where they are not bordering anybody else down here. Why? Because then the warning doesn't apply. It really is kind of that simple. I can even take this one over here and give that one to Mysore too, if I really wanted them to like me, but I really don't care. So I'm not going to be doing that. And taking as much money from them as possible. I'm going to take war reps from them. I'm going to humiliate them if I can. It looks like it's a little too much. But, let's see. Nothing else really worth taking, I think. I'll end some rivalries. Nope, fine. Nothing else. Because it's not going to let me do anything else fun. But this gives me firm control over Sri Lanka. It lets me blockade off the other people down here so I can conquest them, except for the people that they're allied to, which I'll go ahead and break that alliance, I guess. Just because that'll let me do that. And with that, I have now drastically expanded. I've crippled VJ largely permanently. I've given myself a nice foothold over here on the continent, and I have myself a vassal that has a ton of cores through at least half of the southern continent, the southern subcontinent. Now, just to point out, there were a little bit about the rest of the achievements, because once you've hit this point, there's not a whole lot that VJ is going to be able to do. Because by the time that you are done, as you can see, I was able to dev Renaissance. I'm going to be able to get a couple of idea groups. By that point, I'm likely to have quantity ideas finished, which means I'm going to massively outnumber them in terms of manpower. And then on top of that, I'm going to have Batmanis attacking them from the other side, and they're really not going to be able to survive. Not with two people, their strength, flanking them, and pincering them like that. They just cannot survive. All you basically need to do is get a foothold, and you're good to go. Now, again, during that time, since I'm going to have a relatively long truce with them, it is now perfect time to build up a small transport fleet and use this time to go after Sumatra down here. I believe, again, that this is the island of Sumatra. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm pretty sure I might be getting that wrong. And if I am, I'd like to at least know before I continue to do it in future videos. So, you don't need to really core much. You only have this one jungle province here, which is absolutely going to have a lot of unrest. So be prepared for that. But you should be fine. You should have very few loans. You shouldn't be having much problems. I have pretender rebels here because that's just my luck. But you guys should be fine. And with that, you guys should be good to go. One last thing before I sign off, though. One of the achievements that you get with Kandy is cotton candy, which means you become the cotton lead producer. You become trading in. Now, this is not quite the same as producing the most, and I just wanted to explain how it works. So go into your ledger and look under strategic goods, filter it by name, and then look at cotton. Now you'll notice this is your market share, and this is what it's actually questioning. It doesn't matter how much you produced. If you notice, my market share is 1%. I'm getting a 1.8% of all the cotton in the world. But if you actually look at my trade goods, there's not a cotton to be found. What that 1% is, that's my percentage of all the cotton in this trade node that I have a share of based off of this pie chart. Which means I can end up becoming the trade leader simply by supplanting whoever is in this, down the top, which is Batmani's, which is at 7%, by having more in trade value in cotton in my trade nodes. And that can be done simply with Coromandel. Because if you look, there's enough cotton here. There's cotton in Batmani's up here as well. Sorry, wrong button. Up here as well, there is also cotton, but not as much as down here in Coromandel. And on top of that, if you notice, other than this one farm, not much of it's great for deving. Not much as yours is great for deving either. And the AI doesn't dev that well. You have a grasslands one here, though. And you are very good at deving when you need to. So you simply need to push through Vijayanagar, get up to Nellore, take that, and then just simply dev it with Diplo as much as you possibly can. And then dev the other ones that are cotton with Diplo as much as you can, until eventually you're producing enough cotton. And then on top of that, once you're done with Vijayanagar, you can then attack Batmani's and use Gujarat or Jaunpur or whoever is in the north that does not like them against them, just like you did Vijayanagar, pushing north, taking those provinces of cotton from them, and eventually using that to get the achievement. So it's not an overly difficult one, and then also, if you do take it that long to get, you can use cotton plantations, fairly easy to finish it off. The other one, you are required to stay as Theravadan, or you can flip Buddhist if you want, and eventually when you push into other Theravadans up here, use the rebels from the religious rebels to forcibly convert most of India for you. That takes a long time. It takes a lot of endurance to let them slowly siege you out. But it is an alternative method of doing it other than simply forcibly converting your way across the subcontinent. If you want to do that, I would highly recommend you getting religious ideas so you could actually accomplish it. And if you're going to be going through for the cotton candy, I'd also recommend getting quantity and economic so you can develop a lot cheaper. But with that thankfully is all there is to it. Ally Batmani's, attack them, attack Vijayanagar, use Batmani's to cause just enough ruckus. Listen to what I said about using Vani and not doing it Madurai. And as long as they can take Vijayanagar, the one province, their capital, you can usually take this province and the one across the channel, and you didn't even have to give Batmani's anything if you called them in with favors. So they just have to take that one province, and they're usually willing to peace out for those two provinces and nothing else. And once you have those two, you can secure your vassal down here, and you have a foothold, and you can continue to build. They will end up falling behind in military tech, and you can catch up and decimate them. So, with that, hopefully you guys like this kind of content. If you do, like and subscribe. I will definitely be making more of it. If you want a specific kind of game mechanic or another country for me to cover, let me know in a comment below, because I'm absolutely looking for ideas, and maybe yours is the next one that'll make me chuckle enough to make me want to make this before anything else. So, thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.